Hey guys, what's up? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I used 80/20 extruded aluminum rails to build an awesome rack for my solar panels for under $300. So let's get started with the video. So today I'm getting ready to install my solar panels, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these. I'm making a rack out of 80/20 aluminum. Now I made the mistake of ordering 1 by 1 inch or 10 series 80/20 in the originally, and what I found out is these brackets that I bought, which are these after I got the 80/20, the 1 inch, and started on it, I found that these brackets only work with the 1.5 inch, the 15 series 80/20. So I had to ship back. Fortunately, I bought it all on Amazon. I was able to ship it back for free, the 80/20, and I ordered this. And so what I've done so far is I screwed all of these panels together. So I did 2 bolts in each, a 5/16 bolt, 1 inch, with a nylon bolt nut on the other side. You can see one right here. So I did 2, 2, 2, so 6 bolts total. Screwed these together so they're really rigid. You can see if I lift them up, they all lift up together. Then I zip tied. I'm hooking my panels up in parallel. The reason for that is my electrical system, my charger, everything can only handle 12 volts. If you wire them in series, then you increase the voltage. And my charger controller can only handle 12 volts. And so I have to wire these in parallel, which does have some benefits. When you wire them in series, if one panel gets shade, then none of them are very efficient. They all kind of are affected. When you wire them parallel, if one panel gets shade, the other 3 are going to work 100%. So there are some benefits to it. So anyway, I wired these in parallel, which means I have to use these 4-to-1 branch connectors. I also had to put fuses in line for each panel. So I have a 30 amp, because when you wire them in parallel, you're increasing the amperage. When you wire them in series, you're increasing the voltage. So because I've increased my amperage, I put inline fuses for each panel, 30 amp fuse. So I've got these all coming, and they both come out here. This is where they'll hook to my wiring that goes down through my roof and into the van. And I've zip tied them really well together so that I don't want to have any of these flapping in the wind knocking on my roof. And so that's why I've zip tied them together. I've zip tied them to the frame. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I've measured the 80/20, and for these are Renogy 100-watt solar panels. Ends up that the long rails on the side are 78.5 inches. And then going across, because of the way these sit, one on each side, and they screw in through here, I want these to be 46 inches. That works just perfectly for the width of a Sprinter van. And so they're going to hang out just a little bit, maybe a ½ inch or so on either side, and then these will connect. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I'm going to take these off. I've marked them where I want to cut them. 78.5 on the 2 of these. So I bought 3 96-inch 80/20 rails. So I'm going to cut the 2 long ones down to 78.5, and then I'm going to take the other 96 and I'm going to cut it down to 46 inches and 46 inches, which will be 92 inches. So I'll have 4 inches left over. So that worked out perfectly. Three of these. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut these down, and then I'm gonna put 2 screws in the side of each of these panels. I'm gonna put 2 screws, and then I'm gonna mount these little things like this into the side, and then those will slide into the side of the rails. Okay, so that's how I'll mount these to the rails. So here we go with that. So I'm going to cut this on my miter saw. You can cut aluminum with a miter saw if you have a carbide tipped blade. So it's a Diablo carbide tip. So here we go. So I did mark these, but I just want to make sure. Yep, 78. It's actually 78 and 5/8 is for my panels, where it ended up being just flush on either end. So here goes nothing. So that actually goes through like butter. No problem at all. So now I'm just going to drill 2 holes in each panel that I'm going to be able to attach this to, and there are 3 like rigid lines on here. I'm going to just do a pilot hole into the middle line. I'm just going to line them up with these little cutouts so that I'm consistent. Doesn't really matter where they are, but right in there, I'm going to drill pilot holes. Now I'm going to drill, using these pilot holes, a 5/16 hole that I can put the screws through. So the way you do this is, we just got this little section so I can show you, is you want this little notch that rises up to go into the slot like that. Okay? Rather than that. That would work as well. In fact, you know what? I might try that, because on the other side, it was really binding. And I think that's the reason. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through and I drilled the pilot holes. Now I'm going to drill out a 5/16 inch hole. Okay, so you want to put these through, and so they're really loose. Because otherwise the rail will bind as you try to put it in. So just barely on, and do that all the way down. So that's definitely the way to go. Is you don't want this little flange to be facing towards the groove in the 80/20, because that thing just binds on the other side. I had to use a rubber mallet to get it on. This one I was able to slide on pretty easily. So you want that flange pointed away, put it on just a couple of turns so that the threads catch, so it's as loose as possible, and then these things will kind of tilt like this as it slides on, and then you can go back and tighten it up. So what I'm using for the corners are these hidden brackets, and there's only one way that they can go in and actually be hidden, and that is there's this little groove See how it's notched out here, but not here. So that one, oops, needs to go in this way. Because this extends a little bit beyond this rail, it has to be able to slide, that notch slides in. So what I'm going to do is I want about a 1/4 inch of overhang on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in, just kind of not too tight so that I can move them a little bit if I need to. But okay, so I'm just putting that in, just snug, just finger tight, not very tight. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So I want them to be just snug enough that they stay there, but loose enough that I can move this a little bit. And then I can just slide these into the ends pieces and get it centered. So that's pretty good right there. That's pretty well centered. So now I'm just going to slide it straight out, tip it up, and tighten those down right where I have them. Double check it, make sure they didn't move. Yeah, those go in nicely. I've got about a 1/4 inch of overhang on each side. So now I'll just put the pieces on the other side, or tighten them down. So I'm now mounting, I've got all the sides, the cross rails and the long ones in. I use these hidden corner brackets to attach these. I've got a little overhang. Now these are going to attach, these are going to attach into here. You've got these T-nuts that will tighten up, but they've also got a screw that goes in from here into the side. And the 80/20 rail has a hole drilled, but it's not tapped out because I cut it. You can actually order it to size from 80/20 and they'll tap it for you. But if you cut it yourself, you're gonna have to tap it. So it's a 5/16 inch screw with 5/16 by 18 threads. So you're gonna need a tap in order to do that. I've got a piece of tape on for the depth that I need. And so what I'm gonna do, I just put it in here, and they're already drilled the proper size, so all you have to do is start screwing it in and make sure that it's going in straight. Oops, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take these T-nuts and line those up and slide it in and get it into there, and then I'm just going to put this 5/16 bolt that comes with the brackets and use a hex key tighten that. That's nice and tight. So you can kind of see right here, this little rail, this will sit in my my rails of my van. I'll have to slide these in and then put the bolts in, and then this will just tighten up and lock these into the rails. So here we go. So I've got the rack up here, got a little bit of help from a couple of friends. It's pretty heavy, wouldn't be able to do it by myself. You can see it sits up here really nicely. There's room underneath, so there's clearance so that if things get under there, you know, I've seen some situations where people have them really tight to the roof, and then stuff gets under there and it starts to rot and rust the roof out. And so this is nice to have a little bit of clearance, get a little bit of airflow. So now I'm just putting the last of these nuts on. So these little things, these fit right into the tracks, and then you just set these on top of those nuts and then tighten them up. and 46 inches for the width of this worked perfectly. I was a little bit worried because I was going off of what other people had said, and I kind of tried to measure, but you know, until you actually get it up there, it's hard to know for sure. But 46 inches fit absolutely perfectly. So these cross beams, no matter what size your solar panels are, 46 inches with these brackets, definitely the way to go. I'm just snugging these last ones down, and I checked my voltage, and I am getting about 18 amps, or I'm sorry, 18 volts, which is the range on these, I think is 12 to 18. So the sun is pretty high right now. It's almost straight above me, and so getting about 18 volts. So we're good to go. I'm gonna run the wires and connect everything. So you can see the hole right here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of Rust-Oleum paint on here just to prevent it from rusting. Then we'll let that dry, and then I'm going to put some a little bit of rubber, like a rubber grommet around this, just to keep the wires protected. So I've got everything run. I put the gland, this is Borge RV. The Renogy one is more of a square one. They were out of stock. So I got this one. It worked really well. So what I did is I put electrical tape around the hole so that it would not be, you know, cover the sharp edges. And then I put butyl tape on the gland, and then I put it down, ran the wires through, tighten these guys up, put these screws in, and then I'm just going to put some lap sealant around the top and on the screws just to finish it off. So let's see if we can get that here. And this is self-leveling, so you just put it on pretty heavy and just let it flow. Start it right over here. I want to get some on top of each screw. And then I'll have to put the camera down, but I'll put some across the front. So there we go. So this is the front of the vehicle. So the wires are coming into the back. And then I've got the lap sealant on here. It'll level itself out and seal that off, and we'll be good to go. So here's where I have the wires coming in for my solar panels. You can see I put some electrical tape right around it just to kind of protect the wires coming in. And then I run them down behind. They come down through this pillar, and then I've got the wires down here, and they go into my electrical compartment and connect right here to my Renogy DC to DC charger. This is the DC to DC with MPPT charger. And so I've now been using this for a few days, and I'm getting a really good charge, and it's working great. So I'm really happy with this install. I think the 80/20 gives it a really clean look, and so I really recommend it. It probably cost me about $250 to do the rack with the 80/20, and I think that's well worth it. And so I appreciate you watching this video, and please subscribe to our channel to get more van build videos. So we'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and also hit the bell to get notified when we upload new videos. We have a lot more coming. I'll be doing a complete walkthrough on our electrical system in the next couple of days. So talk to you soon.